and she filled a void in my life. And we got woke up to that loud, seemed like just loud, door knock. And I heard my granny give that treacherous scream that comes from a mom.
The window of the driver's seat was down. They also see a woman slumped over. There's blood near her head.
She was sitting in the car with her head resting on a pillow, as if she was making herself comfortable.
He was very flashy, very talkative, over the top.
She realizes, oh boy, what have I got myself involved with? Who is this man?
He has killed before, and he can kill again.
She said, I want to tell you about one other crime, and this one involves 4 murders.
That's a bloodbath.
He thought that this was a good payback.
The small, quiet community of LaHabra sits half an hour southwest of Los Angeles.
It's 7.1 square miles. It has industrial areas, commercial areas, and residential areas. It's basically a family community, and it has every single food restaurant you can imagine. People grow up in LaHabra and they stay in LaHabra.
Around 5:45 a.m. on Wednesday, November 12, 2003, a group of workers report for a job at Morgan Metals, located in a LaHabra industrial park.
They saw a car backed in. There wasn't a car that they recognized as belonging to one of their employees, so that seemed out of the ordinary to the workers.
The window of the driver's seat was down. They also see a woman slumped over. But the craziest thing was there's blood near her head and she's on a pillow. And the car is still running.
One of the managers walks over to have a look at this car. He looks and sees this woman in the front seat and sees blood. And immediately determines that this person appears to be dead, and he's the one that calls the police. And the EMTs came and checked her and determined that she was in fact deceased.
And that's when they saw at least 1 gunshot wound.
The first question that comes up is, was this a suicide? She's in the vehicle by herself, but there was no gun located, which made it unusual to assume that this was a suicide since there was no gun.
So by the time the police got there, they knew they were dealing with a homicide and a gunshot wound victim.
They needed to identify her, so they saw that she had a purse. Inside that purse was still her wallet, and in the wallet they found her ID. It said that she was 22-year-old Anika Edmondson of Compton, California. There are so many questions here because not only is this an industrialized area, but it's really an isolated area, and it's kind of the perfect place to dump a body. The possibilities were endless. They just didn't know.
Anika Edmondson was born on June 6, 1981. She was raised in Compton, California, by her mother and a tight-knit extended family.
Anika, AKA Nika is what we all refer to her as, was a daughter of 4, the youngest, the baby girl. Going down the line, there was another sibling after her, so she finally became a big sister. Growing up, she was literally the light of the house, the boss maker, as I've been told anyways. Definitely courageous and just a ball of energy.
As a teenager, Anika landed in hot water.
She had some troubles with some girls, and they told her, we're gonna be waiting for you after work on a particular day. Anika had carried some razors in her hand, some box cutters, so to say. And when the girls came for her, she was ready to, defend herself. And she ended up slicing one of the girls' face. And when it went to the court system, they ended up taking her away for about 4 years. But in hindsight, everything happens for a reason. That's when she really, I think, made some hard decisions in there. How I'm gonna change my life, how I'm gonna, go about the rest of this, how I'm gonna make this better. She even wrote in some of her journals, how much she missed us, but she knew this was not gonna define her. And she did such.
She went to the California Youth Authority afterwards, and then began to rehabilitate herself and began to work. She wanted a better life for herself.
She was a great student. She went on after high school to do CNA. Her dream was to become a nurse eventually. We were so proud of her because of her, her trials that she went through at a very young age.
When she wasn't working or spending time with her family, Anika pursued her favorite hobby. But on November 12, 2003, Anika lies dead inside her treasured Corolla with at least one gunshot wound to the head. LaHabra detectives arrive on the scene.
They were checking this vehicle for clues, and keep in mind that a vehicle is a very small closed area, so it's fairly easy to contain the crime scene. They don't find anything in the car forensically that tells them who the suspect is.
Unable to determine who killed Anika, investigators focus on why.
Police are looking for a motive. Why this young lady is in the middle of an industrialized parking lot.
This was not a robbery gone bad because the victim's cell phone or belongings were there, her jewelry was there. I believe she had rings and watches. Her pockets were not turned out. The car was not in disarray.
They saw that she was completely clothed. Her clothes was intact.
She clearly had not been sexually assaulted. That was clear from the scenario. So it eliminated some of the more common motives for the murder of a female.
It doesn't look like she struggled. It doesn't look like she threw anything. It doesn't look like the crime scene was chaotic.
In fact, it's the opposite.
Her car was backed into a parking stall, a very comfortable way to park the car. She was sitting in the car with her head resting on a pillow, as if she was making herself comfortable.
She seemed to be at rest and at peace. She never saw this coming.
None of it made sense. So why was she there? And why was she killed there?
After finding few clues at the crime scene, investigators released 21-year-old Anika Edmondson's body to the medical examiner for autopsy. Detectives head to the address listed on Anika's driver's license.
And that early morning, we got woke up to that loud, seemed like just loud, door knock. And I laid in her bed and I heard my granny give that treacherous scream. That scream that comes from a mom.
They asked for a list of anyone who her family knew that was close friends with her. They found out there that she was involved with a car club. And they also found out that she had been dating a gentleman by the name of Cimarron Bell.
He was very flashy, very talkative, over the top. He liked dressing nice. He really enjoyed showing off his nice things.
Simi funded his expensive tastes with profits from a cleaning company he owned and operated.
With his janitorial business, he would go into these businesses after hours and clean the business.
But Ainika's mother tells them she wasn't impressed by Simi's flashy clothes and fancy cars.
You know, he would pick her up, he would not get out the car, he would stay across the street. Nobody ever met him. You know, again, he never showed his face.
Back at the station, investigators look at the cell phone collected from Ainika's vehicle.
One of the last phone calls that Ainika Edmondson made was to a person that they understood to be her boyfriend. And that was to Cimarron Bell, known to his friends as Simi.
Investigators want to talk to Simi. But first, they attend Ainika's autopsy the following morning.
Ainika was shot not once, not twice, but 3 times, close range, in the head with a .38 caliber gun.
She was relaxing with her pillow and didn't appear to be holding on to the door or making any attempt to cover her face. It became evident that Miss Edmondson knew the person that had shot her in the head. So the detectives called in several of Miss Edmondson's friends, and they contacted Mr. Bell on the phone and asked him if he would be willing to come into the police station in order for him to be interviewed.
He's escorted back to an interview room to talk to the detectives.
He did mention during the interview that Miss Edmondson is someone who he had dated. He made it sound somewhat casual. The detectives told him that they had looked at Miss Edmondson's phone and that her last call had been to him. He said he spoke to her briefly and that he hadn't seen her since the previous weekend.
He says, I'm really sorry, she's dead. I plan on going to her funeral. I have no idea who did this to her.
When detectives escort Simi to the lobby, they see he hadn't come alone.
Detectives took note of a woman there waiting for him.
As the first detective finished speaking to Mr. Bell and giving him his business card, the other detective asked the female if she would be willing to step outside in front of the police department so he could speak to her for a couple of minutes. So she agreed. She stepped outside, at which time she told the detective outside that her name was Nissa Wyatt. She claimed to be just a friend who had driven Mr. Bell to the police station.
As for Ainika, Nissa says she barely knew her.
She says, well, I didn't really know her. I only knew her through Simi, and she knows them both through the car club.
Nissa has little to offer. But detectives notice that Simi is suddenly on edge.
The detective who was in the lobby with Mr. Bell noticed that as soon as Miss Wyatt stepped outside, Mr. Bell got extremely nervous. His attention was diverted from the detective. He was focusing outside.
At the time, we thought, okay, he might not necessarily be a suspect, but maybe we need to talk to him later on and continue to evolve this investigation to see what we can find. But for now, we're going to let him go. That's exactly what they did.
Just a few days after Ainika's death, investigators have no leads.
By the time it turned to January of the next year, the case was going nowhere, other than we have a dead young woman in our city.
The very beginning of February, that's when there's a big and very unexpected break in the case that no one was looking for.
3 months after Ainika Edmondson's mysterious murder, Police actually end up arresting Nisa Wyatt on bank fraud charges. And instead of talking about her crime, she tells police, I want to tell you about one other crime. And this one involves 4 murders.
Anika met Simi through a car club, an event, function. We used to gather at the parking lots a lot on Crenshaw Boulevard. We used to hang out. So if I recall correctly, it was a car event show where a bunch of cars came out because he had nice cars, exclusive cars. I believe they were Escalade trucks, big spinning rims. You know, he was that guy. And frankly, my auntie was that girl, you know, and so clearly he found himself attracted to her, approached her, and they talked, they kicked it. He did not inform her he was married at first. And they began to chat over the phone. Then shortly after, they began to link up, meet up, hang out, you know, spend nights, things of those sorts. And the relationship started to evolve.
Three months after Inika Edmondson is shot to death in a LaHabra parking lot, 25-year-old Nisa Wyatt is arrested on fraud charges.
Nisa Wyatt got arrested by the feds for what was really some pretty ticky-tacky credit card fraud that she got involved in at her workplace.
Nisa, she was working for a big box store. She was allowing people that she knew to come in with fraudulent credit cards, to buy merchandise this way or return merchandise that way. She would get a kickback from them.
But Nisa wants to talk about something more serious.
The information that she had to offer involved the death of 4 different people. And Ms. Wyatt said that she had specific details about these homicides that she was willing to share, about a person she was dating. And she didn't ask for any special favors. She did not ask for her case to be dismissed. She told the detectives she was very scared of him.
In return, she wants protection for her family. And when she reveals the name, it's a name police have heard before, Cimarron Bell.
Nisa says that she lied when she told police back in November that she and Simi were just friends.
Miss Wyatt said that Mr. Bell was married, but also had a couple of girlfriends, and that both Anika and Miss Wyatt were his girlfriends.
But according to Nisa, Simi and Anika also had a business relationship.
With his janitorial business, he would go into these businesses after hours and clean the business, but he wasn't just cleaning them, he was cleaning them out of checks.
He had Anika open a joint bank account with him and herself in the name of a business, and then deposit the checks through that account, wait for the check to clear, and then take the money out before the bank has an opportunity to find out that it's a stolen check.
But one day, it went wrong. One of the cashier's checks that he had given to one of his business associates was reported stolen. And the first thing that came to mind was that Miss Edmondson must have turned on him so that she would be the only person able to retrieve money from that account. And that made him angry.
Nisa says Simi also believed Anika was spreading rumors about their relationship.
She was telling people that she and Mr. Bell were going to become exclusive, and that he had shopped for a ring. And that upset him because he said that wasn't true.
According to Nisa, Simi told her he was going to get Anika out of his life permanently.
He needed to kill her, in his view, because this information was in the street and it might get back to his wife.
Nisa says she asked Simi to give Ainika a second chance.
Miss Wyatt had asked Mr. Bell to give her some time so that she herself could confront Miss Edmondson.
She told him, just let me talk to her first.
But on the night of November 12th, Nisa realized she wouldn't get the chance.
Mr. Bell called Nisa to his home. And she came there, and he was in all black.
He seemed very agitated and annoyed, and he was pacing back and forth, and this was not like him at all. And when Nisa asked him, what's wrong? He said, I did it. I killed her. And she said, killed who? He said, I killed Ainika.
And she did not believe him. And he said, I have to show you something.
According to Nisa, they hopped in her car and he directed her to the parking lot of Morgan Metals in LaHabra.
And he says, look. And so Nisa looks beyond him to her right and sees what she recognizes being Anika's car there. And it's back into a stall. There's a sticker on Anika's car, which Nisa recognizes as belonging to her. And then she realizes that Mr. Bell's telling the truth.
Simi told Nisa he'd asked Ainika to meet him there so they could go to a hotel. She was waiting for him when he arrived.
She is not suspecting trouble, right? She's backed into a parking space. She's got her pillow out to rest. She's got music playing. Her cell phone's in her lap. She's comfy cozy.
He walked up to the car and he told her, I have to get my cell phone in the car. I've left it behind. I need to have that before we go off together. And he kissed her.
He walked to his car. He put some gloves on, came back with a revolver, and shot and killed Miss Edmondson.
He was bragging. He was laughing about how Ainika's body jumped when he shot her in the head. Laughing about it.
She realizes, oh boy, what have I got myself involved with? Who is this man? I wouldn't think he was capable of that, but apparently he is.
He killed Ainika because he was afraid that Ainika was going to be providing too much information about him. He doesn't like it when people provide too much information about him, and now Nisa has too much information about him. So she's pretty realistic in thinking that she has reason to fear him.
For the next 3 months, Nisa stayed in the relationship out of fear, unaware of what lay ahead.
Ainika Edmondson's murder was just the first murder. Nisa had no idea that there would be more to come.
In February 2004, Nisa Wyatt tells LaHabra detectives that her boyfriend, Simi Bell, confessed to killing his other girlfriend, Ainika Edmondson.
At this point, she's in fear for her life because she knows if Simi killed Ainika, then she could be next.
Nisa tells investigators that about a month ago, Simi started feeling the loss of the fraud scheme he and Ainika had been running together.
He can't meet his expenses, his bills. Car payments, all the cars he has. The money's dried up. He needs more.
And he had come up with a scheme with his good friend, Mr. Brielle Lee. And they had decided that they were going to advertise Mr. Bell's Monte Carlo for sale at an incredibly low price.
He decided to list his Monte Carlo in Auto Finder. And instead of listing it for the $23,000 that it was worth, he only listed it for roughly like $8,500.
Not long after listing the ad, Simi asked Nisa to join a phone call to set up a meeting with potential buyer Mario Larios.
Mr. Bell involved Nisa because he had trouble understanding what Mario was saying.
He thought Mario was saying, "I'm coming in a white van." And he had to have Nisa listen, and Nisa told him, "No, white Benz. He's coming in a white Benz."
Later on, she sees on the news that a white Mercedes-Benz was found in a commercialized area with 3 bodies in the car. Her mouth dropped, and that's when she knew that Simi was involved.
Investigators are familiar with the case. On January 30th, 24-year-old Mario Larios was found dead, along with his cousin, 26-year-old Fernando Pina, and a friend, 23-year-old Edgar Valle. All 3 men were inside the Mercedes parked behind a La Miranda strip mall.
The white Mercedes-Benz has blood all in the back seat, as well as 2 bodies wrapped up in plastic. In the trunk is a 3rd body, no plastic at all. And when they do the autopsy report, 2 of the men were shot with a .38 caliber gun, and the other man, a .357.
Nisa confronted Simi about what she'd seen on the news.
And that's when he confessed, and he says that he initially invited them to a gas station. He says, "Follow me back to the house and we'll do our deal there." They follow him back to the house, and that's when he and a friend were waiting.
Mr. Brielle Lee was an accomplice of Mr. Bell and had been enlisted by him.
Brielle waited at the house for the men to arrive.
And the minute they get inside that house, Mr. Bell starts shooting. Mr. Lee is also lying in wait inside that house with the 2nd gun.
Simi fatally shot Edgar. His next shots left Fernando and Mario wounded.
Mr. Bell called out Mr. Lee from his hiding place in the back of the house to assist him in killing Mr. Pina, who was trying to run out of the house, having been shot and wounded, and to finish off Mr. Larios.
Mr. Lee was his willing sidekick. But when the moment came to do the shooting, it looks like Mr. Lee was not entirely sure of himself.
Simi ended up taking a gun, holding it to Brielle Lee's head, and said, "If you don't do it, I'm gonna shoot you." So this forced Brielle Lee to get involved and shoot.
Brielle fired the fatal shot at Mario, while Simi took out Fernando.
They take their wallets, take their cell phones, take everything of value, bracelets, watches, everything off their bodies, okay? They go through the wallets and see that it's only a certain amount of cash in Mr. Larios' wallet. It's about $3,000.
Brielle pulled the Mercedes into the garage.
They put one of them in the trunk, and they put 2 of them inside, wrapped in plastic, and then they drove the vehicle to an empty parking lot in the city of La Mirada, and they walked away from the vehicle.
Investigators release Nisa with the understanding that she must take precautions.
She had to get out of the city. Nisa and her family had to change their life, and they ended up leaving Compton and going to another location far away from Compton.
She definitely knows from what the things that he has discussed with her that he has killed before and he can kill again.
Simran Bell just felt that I don't want to live this life. I want to live large. I want to live like a king. And anybody who gets in my way will be eliminated. I'm willing to manipulate people, use people to get my way, to make money, because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, this is about me and only me and nobody else. So I will kill women, put women in difficult positions, perilous positions. I will kill innocent men because In the end, I want to get paid. I want what I want, and I am willing to do anything to accomplish that. So in a way, it was payback, not just to individuals in his life, but payback to how life, as he perceived it, how Mr. Bell was perceiving it, how life treated him.
After questioning, LaHabra investigators release Nisa Wyatt, former associate of now quadruple murder suspect Simi Bell.
Not only has she tied together the murder of Miss Edmondson, but she has tied together the murder of 3 separate people in Los Angeles County that had also gone unsolved. And at this point, there's no reason for any detectives to believe that the murders in 2 different counties are related in any way, except for the fact that Nisa has important details about these homicides.
Detectives look into her claims about Bell's involvement in the murders of Mario Larios, Fernando Pina, and Edgar Valle.
When they do the autopsy report, 2 of the men were shot with a .38 caliber gun and the other man a .357. Police quickly realized this lines up with Nisa's story because she says that Simi told her he shot 2 of the guys. He had a .38 caliber gun. She also says that Brielle Lee shot 1 of the men. He had the .357. So this lines up with her story.
A check of Mario's cell phone records also backs up her story.
They checked the phone belonging to this victim, and they saw that the last number he had dialed was the phone number that belonged to Mr. Bell.
Something Mario and Inika have in common.
It seems too coincidental that you have separate murder victims who have cell phone numbers that show that the last person they called prior to their death was Mr. Bell.
On Friday, February 12, 2004, detectives obtain a search warrant for his home.
The search warrant allowed the detectives to bring a forensic crime lab in. They began looking for evidence anywhere in the house. It was a small, modest home, but the inside looked very nice. The walls were freshly painted. It appeared almost like a new home, maybe as if the walls had been plastered.
They begin to dig into the patchwork of the house and find bullets lodged in the house.
And then they're finding visible bullet holes in the walls in the kitchen. There is still a bullet sitting behind the dish drainer. The dishes in the dish drainer still sitting on the kitchen counter, just sitting there.
I searched the garage, and the .38 caliber handgun that was believed to have been used to murder Miss Edmondson was found. I searched one of the bedrooms, and I found contracts that showed a business relationship with Morgan Metals in LaHabra.
Morgan Metals, the very location where Inika was killed, which is why he chose it. He knew it was a place no one would see the murder occur.
And this is the same area that he told police he'd never visited.
Following the search, Simi is arrested.
They see his 2001 Monte Carlo and they pull him over, and that's when they search the car. They find the .357 gun.
Investigators believe they now have both murder weapons.
The Rome was found in the garage. The other one with the .357 was in the Monte Carlo.
Police took Mr. Bell to the police station. They began to tell him, you've been accused of 4 murders, one involving Inika Edmondson, the other involving 3 men, and the 3 men were killed in your house. And Mr. Bell stares ahead and puts his head in his hands and begins to cry. And says nothing after that. Nothing to say.
The following day, police pick up Simi's alleged accomplice in the triple homicide, Brielle Lee.
Mr. Lee is arrested and he is taken out of the police station, and he is I wouldn't call it forthcoming, but he's more verbal than Mr. Bell. And he begins to tell the police officers a series of lies.
Brielle just kept talking, and he kept changing his story. He changed his story a lot.
Both Simi and Brielle plead not guilty. As for Simi, prosecutors plan to seek the ultimate punishment.
A case of that magnitude, you're seeking the death penalty. We're talking about 4 murders.
It was very clear that if Mr. Bell didn't like somebody that was infringing on his lifestyle or threatened to expose him, Mr. Bell's plan was to get.
On Thursday, March 17, 2011, in California's Norwalk Superior Court, 36-year-old Simi Bell goes on trial for the murder of Inika Edmondson, Mario Larios, Fernando Pena, and Edgar Valle.
I was about 21 now. I was pregnant with my first child during this trial. My granny, she was never the same. We all showed up though, we were there every day. My dad, her brother, her sister-in-law, me, her dad, I believe, came. It was hard, hearing the details.
In his opening statement, prosecutors lay out Simi's motive in Inika's death.
You have his girlfriend who he was working with, and she was cool until he felt like she was in the way. He felt like she was taking money out of his pocket, and he felt like she needed to pay with her life.
According to the prosecutors, Simi's motive in the triple homicide was both greed and revenge.
He wanted to target buyers from a specific ethnicity because he felt that people from that culture had ripped off a lot of other people, so he thought that this was a good payback.
Cimarron Bell is a stone-cold psychopath. He had no intention of ever selling them. He was just going to kill them and take the money.
Prosecutors present overwhelming evidence.
The forensic examination of the firearms tied them both to Inika Edmondson's murder as to the Rome, and then the Rome was also used to kill the individuals in the triple murder, and the .357 was used to kill Mario Larios. There is DNA in this house, huge quantities of DNA that is absolutely 100% matched to the victims at mathematical exclusion rates that are astronomical.
Their star witness, Nisa Wyatt, takes the stand.
This was essentially a story of payback, but he didn't see another payback coming, and that was from his other girl, Nisa.
She was the backstory and motive, which was very interesting and very helpful for our understanding of why the crimes happened.
Simi's attorneys take aim at Nisa's testimony.
The defense attacks her credibility. They actually accuse prosecutors of making a deal with the devil.
They basically told the jury, you can't believe a word out of Nisa's mouth.
But the jury sees things differently.
It's Nisa's testimony that ultimately forces Simi to pay the price for Inika's death, and he's found guilty of not 1, not 2, but all 4 murders.
Mr. Bell was sentenced to death. That was the jury's recommendation, and the judge did impose a sentence of death.
I mean, nothing ever makes it feel better, but it was definitely a relief for us, a relief for, us as a family, knowing that he was finally put away. On that day particularly, I can say we all gained a small amount of peace.
At a separate trial, Simi's accomplice, Brielle Lee, is found guilty of the second-degree murder of Mario Larios. He's sentenced to 40 years to life in prison. The case comes to an end, but for Inika's family, the loss lingers.
life was just too short for her. And if I could tell her one thing, you know, it would simply be thank you. Thank you for being who I needed at that time. You know, my mother died when I was 3, and she filled that void for me. She filled a void in my life that nobody could ever have filled. She encouraged me to keep going, you know. She taught me some of my most precious life lessons that I hold on today as a 34-year-old married woman and mother of 3.
Love is a two-way street. You get out of it what you put in. But what if your partner doesn't want to follow that roadmap? What if they'd rather use jealousy, envy, and deceit to get what they want? Is that a road you're willing to go down? Because if it is, it just might be a dead end. October 21st, 2013, Alexandria, Louisiana. Today, in this picturesque community on the banks of the Red River, folks are out and about, enjoying the fall weather.
This is a very small community. People run into each other a lot.
Not too much going on around Alexandria. Life is kind of slow. It's a good place to raise your kids.
But at 5:30 p.m., Alexandria's peace and tranquility are suddenly upended.
All of a sudden, a gunshot rings out. You hear screams, shrieks of horror.
It's pandemonium of fear and trying to figure out what's going on.
A small group of girls has gathered around a young woman on the ground. A passerby who heard the shots runs up to help.
She tries to help her, but she sees blood coming from her chest.
The victim has been shot in the chest and is drifting in and out of consciousness.
Moments later, the police pull up. It's a race against time to save her life.
An investigation into the shooting would reveal how quickly the flames of passion can burn out of control, and how one woman's desire to keep her man all to herself would spark a violent feud with deadly consequences. 18-year-old Kiana Collins had always possessed a feisty, strong-willed spirit.
Kiana was like a little chihuahua with a big bark. She was gonna speak her mind. She wasn't scared of anything.
Kiana was a leader, most definitely a leader. She was always very outspoken. She was sassy. She say what she mean, and she mean what she say.
And Kiana's mind was as sharp as her tongue.
She was a go-getter. She was smart in school. I had very high hopes because I knew she was gonna make something out of herself. She was the highest in the class. She got high marks on everything. She had every aspiration of going to college.
She wanted to do cosmetology school. She wanted to do that, like makeup and hair and stuff.
But after graduating high school, Kiana started to test her father's patience.
Just because you turn 18, that don't make you grown. You just can't come home when you please. That's not gonna work.
Kiana's mother had passed away 9 years earlier, and her father worried that Kiana's new rebellious streak meant she still hadn't fully processed the tragedy.
Our mama passed in 2004. She was a good woman.
Their mom played such a big role in their life, you know, she was their everything.
Most young people don't know how to express grief when they are in pain. they will act out.
Despite her father's concerns, Kiana continued to push boundaries and soon developed a taste for the nightlife.
Kiana was sticking it to the clubs, smoking marijuana. We used to butt heads on that issue.
She was the partying type. We was always into something. We was at the club, we was somewhere riding the town down. We was doing something all the time.
In the fall of 2013, 18-year-old Kiana's wild, fun-loving ways caught the attention of 30-year-old Thompson Blaze Roberts.
Kiana and Blaze, they meet. The relationship accelerates fast.
Kiana fell hard and fast for Blaze. The passion was undeniable.
She was really in love with this guy.
Blaze was buying her gifts, showing her affection.
That's what mainly attracted Kiana. He was giving her whatever she wanted.
But Kiana's friends and family had their reservations about Blaze. He had a reputation around town as a ladies' man.
He didn't know how to be with one woman. That was the bad part.
Kiana paid no attention to the haters. She was in love, and no one was going to stand in her way.
When it came down to Blaze, she was a whole different person.
I didn't understand, but it's not like I could have told her anything different anyway, if that's what she liked.
Little did Kiana know that the love for her new man would ultimately cost her everything. At 5:40 p.m., police and paramedics arrive on Lee Street in South Alexandria, where it appears that a local woman has been shot.
They found a female victim lying on the ground. Witnesses tell police the girl bleeding out on the ground is 18-year-old Kiana Collins.
Word spreads quickly in the neighborhood, and Kiana's family arrives on the scene within minutes.
When I got to the scene, there was a whole lot of people. And of course, I jumped out my car and ran over, and the police tried to hold me. One of them saying, let the EMS work on her.
Her eyes were closed, and she was just laying there. No movement, no nothing. It just didn't seem real.
As friends and family look on in horror, first responders load Kiana into the ambulance.
I'm thinking the whole time she was okay, and I wanted to come home.
I was praying, please God, let her be okay. I was scared.
The ambulance rushes Kiana to the hospital. Moments later, detectives arrive on the scene.
They noticed a large crowd gathered.
Everybody in that neighborhood came. Everything seemed at a standstill.
They began taking statements from the witnesses.
Those witnesses say the gunfire came from a silver vehicle headed north down Lee Street.
They said an old school silver car begins to drive down the street. Then they saw the person from the passenger side point a gun out the window and fire it at Kiana.
Police place an APB out for the vehicle. At first glance, detectives believe Kiana could have been the victim of a random drive-by shooting. But as they dig deeper, investigators will discover that the cause of the shooting centers around a woman's unwavering devotion to her man, a devotion that would be paid for in blood.
There were some poor decisions on everyone's part that helped to throw wood on the fire.
"18-year-old Kiana Collins believed she'd found the man of her dreams in 30-year-old Thompson Roberts, also known as Blaze. But what Kiana didn't realize was that her devotion to Blaze would ultimately be her downfall.
Sometimes a relationship can cost an outcome that you never could have imagined for your life.
It all started at 5:30 p.m. on October 21st, 2013. Witnesses claim Kiana was gunned down by a shot fired from a silver car outside a convenience store on Lee Street in Kiana's hometown of Alexandria, Louisiana. As she fights for her life at a nearby hospital, investigators are trying to determine what exactly has transpired.
Police questioned the victim's friend, Heather Bishop, who was standing right next to Kiana Collins when she was shot. According to Bishop, the two young women and a couple of friends were walking across the street to the convenience store. They saw a silver car rounding the corner. And Kiana says, "There goes Stormy."
Heather tells investigators that Stormy is Stormy Kofer, a 21-year-old woman who grew up under even more trying circumstances than Kiana.
Stormy is a young mother, a single parent.
She had a rough childhood. She had to always fend for herself. Her mom was drug addicted. Her dad was drug addicted. Foster care come in. I became Stormy's mom when she was 9 years old. She was in a rehab facility that I was working at the time. And she just clinged to me. I've been mom ever since.
Heather says that Stormy was sitting in the passenger side of the silver vehicle.
Heather tells police the car came to a stop. She then saw Stormy lean over and pull out a gun. Heather saw Kiana stumble to the ground as the car raced away.
Kiana was like, "I'm shot. She shot me." She grabbed onto her heart.
Heather says Stormy fired on Kiana without warning or provocation.
She tells investigators they were just minding their own business, doing nothing wrong. Kiana did nothing to provoke the shooting.
Detectives ask Heather why Stormy would want Kiana dead. Heather explains that Stormy used to date Kiana's boyfriend, Blaze, and that Stormy still carried a torch for him.
Both women were fighting over the same man.
Blaze and Stormy used to be together. She loved him. They had this breakup. Blaze go be with another woman. Then they'll get back together. It was just like an ongoing cycle with them. That was just their relationship. He used females to get at Stormy to make her mad when they separate.
Which makes detectives wonder, could Stormy have shot Kiana in a fit of jealousy?
According to the witness, there was no threat made. Stormy shot her. All she did was stand there.
Other friends of Kiana tell police the same story. They claim they were innocent bystanders of Stormy's vicious attack.
As detectives finish up with Kiana's friends, they receive devastating news from the hospital.
The doctor came in and told me that she was dead. She was deceased. Just like slid out the chair on the floor and just like.
When that happened, a part of me died. Oh my God, it didn't make sense. Why? Just why?
Who in their right mind would want to do something like that to somebody?
I didn't even get a chance to go and see her body because at that time she was evidence.
Detectives are now investigating the shooting as a homicide. Less than 1 mile away, officers enter the home of 21-year-old shooting suspect Stormy Kofer.
Police go and search her house.
They search and look for her, but they can't find Stormy. No one's in the home.
Her kids weren't there. They didn't know where the boys were, who had them.
The home is kind of in a mess and shambles. And it looks like someone left pretty quickly. No one knows where Stormy is.
But as the case unfolds, investigators will discover a new wrinkle in the story. One that suggests there's more to it than meets the eye.
She's clearly trying to be in control to show that she's the woman when it comes to Blaze.
The new lead also suggests that Blaze Roberts wasn't merely the object of Stormy and Kiana's romantic rivalry, but that he actively fanned the flames on both sides, igniting what would become a deadly feud.
He's more responsible for this situation than anybody.
You have two young ladies being egged on by one particular gentleman.
A lot of these men, such as Blaze, trying their best to create animosity between these different groups.
I always try to tell them both, he playing games, so both of y'all leave it alone.
October 21st, 2013. 18-year-old Kiana Collins has been fatally shot near a convenience store in Alexandria, Louisiana.
This young girl was gunned down in a drive-by shooting.
Not in my wildest dream, but I would have thought that it would have turned out the way it did as far as her being dead.
Police have raided the home of suspect Stormy Kofer, but Stormy is nowhere to be found.
And Stormy is now somewhere hiding.
When she ran off, she had already called Kayla to tell Kayla what happened and to go get her kids.
When I asked her where she was, she wouldn't answer. I told the police, I'm sure I'll hear from her because she cares about her kids and she's gonna make sure to come get them.
As patrol officers scour the streets of Alexandria in search of Stormy, another passenger from the silver vehicle comes forward. A young woman named Jernisha Jenkins. Jernisha says she's a friend of both Kiana and Stormy. She doesn't know where Stormy is, but she claims the police have it all wrong.
She not a killer. Stormy not a bad person. She was a good friend and she was a good mother to her kids.
She was in school to become dental assistant. She didn't have long before she finished.
Detectives are perplexed. Eyewitnesses clearly indicated that Stormy was the shooter. So how could a sweet, hardworking single mother with so much promise get caught up in a drive-by shooting? Jernisha says it all has to do with Blaze.
Stormy and Kiana, they just go crazy, basically, over a dude.
Jernisha says Stormy thought she'd found lasting love when she first met Blaze in 2011.
She's been searching for love for a long, long time.
She wants someone to accept her, to feel love. She needed somebody.
Jernisha tells detectives that Blaze gave Stormy the feeling of affection and belonging she'd been searching for.
All she wanted was a family to love. And then she met Blaze, the love of her life.
But according to Jernisha, the relationship quickly hit the skids.
One day they was good, one day they wouldn't.
He was in a relationship with Stormy, and then you have this other girl calling.
I said, you don't need to be in this relationship with him if this is what you're gonna have to go through.
Jernisha tells detectives that in 2013, Stormy and Blaze were dealt a surprise that seemed like it could potentially save their relationship.
When she found out she was pregnant, she felt like it was the best thing that ever happened to her.
Unfortunately, though, the young couple's blessing soon turned into tragedy.
Stormy had the baby, premature. He was hospitalized.
That baby didn't make it.
Jernisha says that just when Stormy needed Blaze more than ever, he was nowhere to be found.
Blaze didn't even show up to the funeral.
When she lost a child, and he did not support her, that ended that chapter for Stormy.
But according to Jernisha, Blaze wasn't about to let Stormy put an end to their relationship just like that.
For many individuals like Blaze, control builds up the ego. So when Stormy decided that she's going to live her own life, that loss of control probably enraged him.
It seems like he becomes kind of obsessed with trying to now get back in control in Stormy's life. He begins to instigate and torment and taunt her to get a reaction.
Jernisha tells police that roughly 2 months later, Blaze met Kiana. Despite their 12-year age difference, Kiana wanted nothing more than to shower Blaze with love and affection.
Blaze, I think, is thinking that he's able to then be in control and manipulate and control her to do whatever he wants her to do.
With Kiana's love for Blaze unwavering, it appears he enlisted his new girlfriend to torment his ex. It all began at a convenience store in September of 2013, just 1 month before the shooting.
Kiana and Blaze walk in, they see Stormy. He leans over and whispers something in Kiana's ear.
It's very clear that Blaze has informed Kiana who Stormy is, but Stormy is oblivious. Kiana walks up and shoulder bumps Stormy.
She kind of did her like that, and they looked at each other, and they both kept walking.
Stormy brushed it off because she just thought she was some random person.
Later that day, Stormy finds out the girl who bumped her was Blaze's new girlfriend, Kiana Collins.
That's where it all started at. From then on out, it was beef.
Jernisha explains that from that point forward, Blaze fanned the flames of jealousy between Stormy and Kiana on a near-daily basis.
The hatred that he implanted in Kiana towards Stormy was just a form of control.
He would have Kiana antagonize her.
Kiana used to call Stormy's phone. I'm gonna send you this picture of me and your man.
She is now attached to Blaze. And so she's now aware of what it takes to please him.
Jernisha says that Kiana was willing to do whatever it took to make Blaze happy. But no one knew just how quickly and how dangerously things would accelerate.
At that point, she just like, you know what? I'm sick of this bitch. I'm tired of it.
Detectives have discovered homicide victim Kiana Collins and her accused killer, Stormy Kofer, clashed many times before the fatal shooting on October 21st.
Both were in love with a young man named Blaze.
For a month before the shooting, they were fighting.
Mutual friend Jernisha Jenkins explains Blaze actively tried to pit the two young women against each other.
Blaze played a big part in everything.
He was telling Kiana one thing, he'll tell Stormy something else. He'll go back and tell Kiana something that Stormy supposedly said when she never even had any knowledge of what was going on.
According to Jernisha, between Stormy and Kiana, it was Kiana who seemed more willing to take the battle to the next level.
Kiana threatened her a few times and said, I'm gonna come to the house and said, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna hurt you, and I'm gonna hurt your kids.
And on October 9th, 2013, 2 weeks before the murder, Kiana took the fight all the way to Stormy's front door.
Kiana was kicking and screaming for her to come outside and fight.
She was like, come to the street, you beat.
Stormy was telling her, they're not my kids, I don't want to fight.
She told Stormy, you're gonna have to see me eventually.
Jernisha explains that after several more minutes, Kiana finally left. But later that week, the two rivals had another run-in.
Stormy is pumping gas a few days before the shooting. She looks up, she sees Kiana, and Blaze was in the car with Kiana.
Jernisha tells detectives Blaze encouraged Kiana to block Stormy's car.
Kiana and Blaze, they were laughing, they were yelling things out the window.
Blaze appeared to be very proud of the fact that these women were in competition for him.
And for Kiana, these are all acts of love for Blaze. Hey, I got you. I'm your woman. You tell me to go handle whoever, I'll go handle it.
Kiana was going to make it known Blaze was her man.
After minutes of threats and shouting, Kiana and Blaze finally decided to back off.
Kiana eventually backs up her car and allows Stormy to leave.
Jernisha tells detectives that once she heard about the incident, she encouraged both women to make amends.
I always try to tell them, y'all mad at each other over him. It really just don't make no sense for y'all to be beefing.
Jernisha says that on October 20th, the day before the shooting, she brokered a conversation between the two rivals.
They wouldn't talk like two women. Nobody was yelling. I didn't have to stand in the middle of them.
They showed each other their phones, and they saw that Blaze was behind a lot of this, and he was stirring the pot.
Everything was going on, it was basically because of Blaze.
When we walked off, everything was good. It wasn't no problem.
Everyone said it was over. The feud was over.
But the truce lasted less than 24 hours.
It was supposed to be squashed, and the very next day it was something new.
Jernisha explains that on the morning of the shooting, Blaze found out that Stormy and Kiana had reached a détente and was none too pleased. Blaze immediately called Kiana to reignite the feud.
He told Kiana that Stormy said something about her. Something that he told her to get it started back up. It was a lie.
He kind of did whatever he can to kind of keep that manipulation, and I think that spawned the hatred of Kiana towards Stormy. I think it was just a form of control.
Jernisha says after Kiana's phone call with Blaze, Kiana was driving down the street when she spotted Stormy.
Basically, Stormy was coming up the street, Kiana was coming the other way.
They make eye contact. They recognize each other.
All of a sudden, Kiana tries to run Stormy's car off the road.
Kiana wasn't gonna stop. They was about to do a head-on collision. Stormy took her car and swung it.
She literally had to drive into the curb. Kiana played chicken with the car.
She kept going, like nothing, like, oh well, you know, she kept going.
Jernisha says that after the incident, Stormy was enraged.
Stormy got fed up with it. She just was tired. She just was like, you know, I'm tired of her messing with me. I'm not gonna go back around here and fight her.
At this point, Stormy is thinking, we're gonna do this, let's do it, let's get it over with.
Later that afternoon, Stormy and Kiana agreed to meet up and settle their score in the middle of the street, once and for all.
This was gonna be the end of it. They probably could have fought all day long.
But if the plan was to settle the score with their fists, something went dangerously wrong. And as detectives examine how the feud went from fisticuffs to full-blown homicide, rival eyewitness accounts offer two conflicting versions of the shooting.
There's two different stories with how this went down.
Witnesses almost broke down into teams. They were either on Stormy Ofer's team or Kiana Collins' team.
In Alexandria, Louisiana, investigators have uncovered a lengthy feud between recent shooting victim Kiana Collins and the woman who allegedly pulled the trigger, Stormy Kofer.
They had these altercations over and over again.
Jernisha Jenkins, a friend of both women, tells detectives that the rivalry's real instigator is neither Stormy nor Kiana, but the man who's been romantically involved with both of them, 30-year-old Blaze Roberts.
It looks like Blaze is fully aware of each one of these women, what their insecurities are, and has had a relationship with both of them. At that time, he's with Kiana, and so he has the ability to talk to her and control her to cause an interaction where he is the center of attention between these two young women.
They're texting and emailing. There was constant threats going back and forth, constant trash talking.
They hated each other. All behind Blaze.
Jernisha explains that after a dangerous encounter on the road earlier that day, the two rivals decided to settle their differences with their fists.
They threw the car in park, they jumped out, they started fighting.
Kiana threw Stormy to the ground, striking her repeatedly in the process. But Stormy eventually got the upper hand.
It has built up, and Stormy is enraged with the progression of the behaviors of taunting, of bullying.
After getting the best of Kiana, Stormy decided to inflict even more damage.
Once I seen Stormy was coming back to the car to grab her bat, that's when I jumped out and I tried to break them up.
Jernisha says after that, Kiana wanted another chance to fight Stormy.
Kiana is upset because she lost the fight, so she's mad and wanting a rematch.
Stormy was fearful for her life.
Jernisha tells detectives that afternoon, she, along with Stormy's new boyfriend, Wesley Nance, tried to calm Stormy's fears by riding with her to her class.
Her friends are having some concern for Stormy, saying, let's leave, ride with us.
Jernisha explains that shortly before class, Stormy passed by the convenience store on Lee Street, where the situation once again came to a head.
When the vehicle turns onto the street, Stormy and Kiana make eye contact. They recognize each other, and Kiana starts walking towards the car to make her presence known.
Kiana's friends got in front of that car, so the vehicle that was driven could not be moved.
Jernisha tells detectives that what happened next is all a blur.
Stormy picks the gun up and began to wave the gun around.
And next thing you know, the gun went off.
Detectives are suspicious. All eyewitness accounts from the scene paint Stormy as the aggressor, not Kiana and her friends. But Jernisha is adamant. She says Stormy's new boyfriend, Wesley Nance, can corroborate her story.
Wesley was the driver of the car when the shooting took place.
Later that evening, detectives bring Wesley in for questioning. He tells detectives the shooting was in no way premeditated.
It was an accident. It just happened. It was just a messed up situation on both parts.
Wesley goes on to explain how the shooting unfolded.
Wesley's driving the vehicle, and Stormy's in the passenger side.
Stormy's friend, Jernisha Jenkins, is in the back seat.
The vehicle turns onto the street where Kiana was walking with some friends.
They happened to be coming from across the street.
Immediately, a crowd recognized the car. They recognized Stormy.
Girls started jumping around saying, there she is, that bitch.
Emotions were flying. Everybody getting bucked up, getting excited.
These young ladies are continuously taunting.
Wesley claims Kiana then approached the driver's side of the car.
The window was down, and they were passing words from the car.
Kiana even pulled on the door handle.
Wesley says they felt surrounded. Kiana, who had been threatening Stormy for over a month, was trying to get inside the car.
Stormy is aware that Wesley's gun is in the car.
The gun was on the floorboard.
She picks the gun up.
And in an effort to scare off this crowd, she waves the gun.
Wesley tells detectives he believes Stormy had no intention to fire.
Stormy takes the gun, pointed towards the window. Wesley sees as this gun is really close to his face.
She never pulled the trigger. The gun just went off.
After Stormy fires the shot, they speed off.
Wesley pulled over, made everybody get out the car, and Stormy went her way.
According to both Wesley and Jernisha, no one has seen Stormy since. Wesley's statement further supports the notion that Kiana was willing to do anything for Blaze, and to a degree, that Stormy may have acted out of self-defense. However, Stormy must still answer for her actions. And right now, police have no idea where she is.
Stormy goes into hiding.
She was on the run.
Detectives in Louisiana have uncovered a deadly romantic rivalry between 18-year-old Kiana Collins and 21-year-old Stormy Kofer. But was the shooting of Kiana done out of jealousy, or was it an act of self-defense?
All accounts and blame fall along friendship lines. Some witnesses paint a picture of a heartless drive-by shooting, while others say this was a provoked attack where the victim had just as much blame. But one thing everyone agrees on is that Stormy Kofer fired that fatal shot.
Now, the search is on for Stormy.
No one knows where she is.
On October 23rd, 2 days after the shooting, Stormy makes contact with one of her friends, Kayla Henderson.
She called me. She was like, I called a lawyer so I can turn myself in. But before she can turn herself in, somebody had already told where she was. So she didn't get a chance to turn herself in. They caught her as a fugitive.
Stormy is arrested without incident and charged with second-degree murder.
In Louisiana, second-degree murder, if convicted, carries mandatory life in prison.
However, it will be up to a jury to decide if Stormy's actions that day rise to the level of self-defense.
We asked her attorney if he wanted to discuss a plea bargain to the lesser offense of manslaughter, but they were adamant they were not pleading guilty to anything.
On September 16, 2015, the trial of Stormy Kofer gets underway. The prosecution contends Stormy shot Kiana after a series of violent altercations, in one of which Stormy attempted to attack Kiana with a baseball bat.
We talked the background of them physically fighting, calling each other on the phone, threatening each other. Somebody would start jawing about Blaze this and you that. They wouldn't let it die, and that fired up Stormy.
When it's their turn, the defense doesn't deny Stormy pulled the trigger that fateful day. Instead, they claim that at every turn, it was Kiana, not Stormy, who was the true aggressor.
The defense was arguing that it became a self-defense type situation.
To bolster her case, Stormy decides to testify. Under oath, Stormy tells the court she believed her life was in immediate danger.
Stormy had said the car was surrounded and that there was a bulge in Kiana's shirt.
Stormy knew Blaze carried a gun and thought he had given it to Kiana.
In an effort to scare everyone away, Stormy picked up the gun in the car.
She said, I never meant to kill her. I was only trying to scare her.
Still, Stormy admits picking up the gun was a mistake.
Stormy, when she testified, apologized to Kiana's father.
Stormy took the life of my daughter, and it was unnecessary. But I forgive her. You know, young people make mistakes.
Despite her heartfelt apology, the jury wastes no time finding Stormy Kofer guilty of second-degree murder and assault with specific intent to kill. Stormy's friends and family are devastated.
I feel like someone ripped my gut out. Felt really, really empty.
I just don't really feel like a life sentence was the correct sentence. It was an accident, and nobody can make me believe otherwise.
My heart goes out to Stormy. No matter how many years that she got, it wasn't gonna bring Kiana back.
I wasn't feeling joyous because you still had this child that whole life she has to spend it in prison. So you had 2 lives that were lost.
There's one person involved in the case who shoulders none of the blame in court. A man that family and friends on both sides hold personally responsible for what happened. Blaze Roberts.
Blaze liked the idea of having two women fight over his affection.
To me, he's a coward. He's more responsible for this situation than anybody.
He said, I never meant for any of this to happen. Well, what were your intentions on having these girls fighting over you? And I used to tell Stormy to leave him alone, and the more I told her, the more she clinged to him.
I really hate that it happened. I really wish that Kiana would have left Blaze. I was just basically telling her, don't fall into the trap. Pretty much they went in one end, out the other.
If men start getting you to do things you know isn't right, get out of it. That's the beginning of things escalating to something terrible.
When you are unclear about who you are, you can become preyed upon, unfortunately, by someone that can manipulate and control you, that can really ruin your life.
They say all men want to be a woman's first love. But what if he wants to be the first love of more than one woman? To have his cake and eat it too, while the two of you fight for his affection. If that's the game he wants to run, then the only way to win is not to play. There's nothing quite like a romantic walk in the woods with the one you love. Beams of sunlight dancing through the trees, leaves rustling in the wind. That feeling that everything is perfect. But what if your love leads you down the wrong path? You get disoriented. And before you know it, you're lost. Would you keep following that love? Or turn back before it's too late? June 4th, 2001, 7 a.m. It's a balmy spring morning in Kansas City, Missouri.
Kansas City is a place where you would want to raise a family. People are normally pretty close. You know who your neighbors are, and you know who the people are that live on your block.
On the southeast side of town, 55-year-old Tabitha Parks is just returning home from an overnight shift.
She worked overnights, so she came home in the early morning hours.
Tabitha and her 29-year-old goddaughter, Delisha Williams, shared a home together.
When Tabitha goes to open the front door, she notices it's slightly ajar.
She thought that was odd because she and her goddaughter always kept the doors locked.
Upon entering the home, it's clear to Tabitha that something is wrong.
She discovered that several items were missing from the house.
Big screen TV was gone. There were other TVs gone. The rooms were ransacked.
Tabitha rushes towards Delisha's room, terrified for her goddaughter's safety. But what she finds in the hallway makes her heart drop.
There was a large amount of blood in the house. They felt like some sort of violence had happened there.
As Tabitha peeks into Delisha's room, she's met with a gruesome sight.
She immediately sees a room full of blood, missing items, and most importantly, Delisha Williams is missing. She's probably overcome with fright, fearing the worst.
She became concerned, called 911.
Within minutes, first responders arrive. A frantic Tabitha waves them down.
She's connecting the dots in her racing thoughts that there's something horribly wrong.
Officers enter the residence and can tell right away, given the amount of blood in the home, Delisha was involved in a violent struggle.
There was blood everywhere. they knew that something wasn't right.
Officers immediately radio in to detectives for backup.
Given the state of the home and how much blood she had likely lost, they could tell Delicia's chances of survival were pretty slim.
As police race against the clock, they'll uncover a vicious plot shrouded in revenge and a love-struck woman right in the thick of it. 21-year-old certified nursing assistant Shakora Clanton had always had a passion for taking care of others.
I became a CNA and I enjoyed working with the old folks. I always wanted to actually help people, no matter what their circumstances was.
She had multiple talents. She could cook, she could do hair, and she loved working with elders and babysitting kids.
The Kansas City native was not only known for her passion for others, but also for her vibrant personality.
She was a light everywhere she went. Everybody wanted to be around her. She had a playful personality.
Shakora had dreams, ambitions, and a wealth of friends. But there was one thing missing.
She always dreamed of getting married and having kids. That was her future goal.
I was looking for a good man. I always wanted someone that was like a person that would provide for their family.
I think from an early age that Shakora had that wanton feeling of love.
Regardless of her desire to find love, Shakora hadn't had much luck. But that all changed in the spring of 2001, when Shakora met handsome 29-year-old Bovie Combs at a bus stop.
Bovie captured Shakora's attention. He approached her and he told her she was beautiful.
I got the sense of when we started talking that he was trying to get to know me better.
Immediately, she is drawn to him. He's very charismatic. He's very inviting.
He was nice looking. He seemed like he carried himself in a nice, fashionable manner. He just seemed like a very nice, good-looking person.
The two exchanged numbers, and before long, they were inseparable.
Shakora and Bovie, they spend time together. That relationship deepens. They're enjoying one another's company. She feels like she's in love.
Shakora thought he was a great guy, perfect to start a family with. I mean, she thought he was the one.
After only a couple months of dating, it was clear there was a fiery passion between Shakora and her new man.
The relationship took off pretty fast.
He kind of put her on a pedestal. He presents himself as if he loves her, as if he's reliable, as if he cares, wants to protect her.
The spark between the two was undeniable. Shakora became completely infatuated with Bovie.
The chemistry was amazing, physically and emotionally.
However, when Shakora started bringing Bovie around her family, the nice guy she fell for soon showed another side.
He wouldn't let Shakora out of his eyesight. He would always have to be like hanging around the corner.
Bovie, in a lot of ways, is possessive. He wants to monitor what she does.
Nobody in the family liked him.
Despite the red flags, Shakora was all in, for better or worse.
Bovie gave her everything that she needed as far as, getting that attention that she was looking for.
But before long, Shakora's dream man would plunge her into a gruesome nightmare, one where a mistaken identity would yield deadly consequences. And Shakora would find herself at the center of it all.
She did anything she had to do in order to keep her man.
June 4th, 2001. Detectives have just arrived at the home of missing person Delicia Williams. They speak with the young woman's godmother, Tabitha Parks, to get the facts.
To her shock and horror, she finds large amounts of blood in the home.
Given the amount of blood, detectives believe a violent struggle took place. But who would want to harm the 29-year-old?
She said her goddaughter was loved by anyone who met her, so she couldn't imagine who would want to hurt her.
Tabitha says Delisha had just moved to town and didn't know many people yet.
Delisha was actually in between jobs. She had recently moved from Texas so she could stay with her godmother until she could find more steady work.
According to Tabitha, she had last seen Delisha the night before.
Delisha's friend Ariana had came over that night, and Delisha's godmother said everything was fine before she left for work.
Detectives hope Delisha's friend might know what's going on. It's a sprint against time to find Delisha before it's too late. But as the minutes pass by, police will soon unravel a cruel and twisted plot that shocks even the most seasoned detectives.
She has to decide what to do. Do I help this woman or do I help my man?
"21-year-old CNA Shakora Clanton was head over heels for handsome 29-year-old Bovie Combs.
My feelings for him was very strong when I first met him.
She really wanted to settle down with him and didn't want to meet anybody else.
But soon, Shakora's perfect man started raising some red flags.
Shakora didn't come around us as much as she would have if he wasn't around. He was being so possessive and controlling. I think he tried to kind of like keep her away from us.
Shakora, however, was in too deep and would quickly find out just how far she was willing to go for her man. June 4th, 2001. Kansas City, Missouri police are investigating the suspicious disappearance of 29-year-old Delisha Williams.
The godmother finds her TV and other items missing, blood on the floor.
Police know the clock is ticking if there's any chance of finding Delisha alive. After speaking with her godmother, Tabitha Parks, detectives hope Delisha's friend might have an idea of what's going on.
Tabitha says Delisha was hanging out at the house with a friend named Ariana the night she disappeared.
As police continue to process the scene, detectives head to the home of Ariana Sims. Ariana is shocked to find detectives at her doorstep.
She says that she was alive the last time I saw her.
Ariana tells detectives the night was just an ordinary night, but Delisha did have some other friends show up later in the evening.
They were watching TV, just having a normal night in. And then 3 people came over to the house.
There were 2 males and a female. The only thing odd is that they were in a U-Haul truck.
Ariana says the U-Haul truck initially seemed a bit strange, but she overheard the trio say they had been moving all day, and she had no reason to doubt their story.
Delisha seemed to be friendly with these people, so it wasn't anything that made her concerned.
She tells detectives the 3 came in and introduced themselves. Unfortunately, Ariana could only remember the female's name.
She remembered that the woman's name was Shakora.
Ariana says it was getting late and she had to work the next morning, so she left soon after they arrived.
You can imagine that she's upset, she feels guilty, she just hopes that Delisha is okay.
Without a last name for Shakora, detectives head back to the station, hoping the U-Haul lead will generate some answers. It doesn't take long before they get a hit.
So just hours before the three people of interest showed up at Delicia's godmother's house, they discovered that a U-Haul had been rented by a Shakura Clanton.
The truck hadn't been returned yet.
Detectives head to the address associated with the reservation.
After running down the leads from the U-Hauls, we ended up at Shakura Clanton's house.
They show up at her house, and the U-Haul is outside of her house.
Hoping to find missing person Delisha Williams, police descend upon the home.
Now they're trying to figure out where this person is and if she's still alive.
Officers knock on the door, and Shakura Clanton answers.
I was really cautious. I was just cooperative with them.
But as police look inside, they see a man in shocking attire.
He had a whole lot of blood on him.
There was a lot of blood, and that raised a red flag for the detectives.
Police identify the man as Shakura's boyfriend, Bovie Combs, and take them both into custody.
The couple obviously wasn't expecting to see police at the door.
When I learned what it was that Shakura got picked up for, I was very surprised. I just didn't want to believe it.
After clearing the home, detectives turn to the U-Haul. They anxiously raise the gate, hoping to find Delisha Williams.
They open the door and are met with a horrific sight.
Inside that U-Haul was horrible.
There were some bloody pillows, blankets, a knife, as well as a TV and furniture from Delisha's house.
The only thing that we don't have at this point is our victim. So we wanted to continue our conversation with Shakura and Bovie downtown at our offices.
At the station, detectives speak with Shakura first.
My first impression of both of them is that they're young. And Shakura, she was scared.
Shakura had never been arrested. She had never been in trouble. Her record was squeaky clean.
She seemed like a good girl, so they really thought that she was going to be the first one to crack.
Detectives ask Shakura about Delisha and the bloody items found in the U-Haul. But she claims to know nothing.
I was going to protect him. I wasn't going to say anything. I wasn't going to say anything to the police.
She loved him. She believed that they were in this together and that he would have her back.
But when detectives speak to Bovie Combs, it's clear Shakura's boyfriend has no problem completely betraying her.
I had this grand idea that he was going to protect me and nothing would happen to me. And that was just a dream that he sold to me.
This is the person that she believed to be down for her, but he's going to cost her her freedom.
June 2001, Kansas City, Missouri. Police are investigating the disappearance of 29-year-old Delisha Williams, who appears to have suffered a violent attack in her home. They have two suspects in custody, Shakura Clanton and Bovie Combs.
He has blood on his clothing.
The police found blood that was in the U-Haul that Shakura had rented.
We determined that, yes, they were involved in this.
After getting nowhere with Shakura, detectives take a crack at Bovie. As his seized, bloody clothing is processed, Bovie opens up to detectives.
At this point, he's kind of starting to realize that they're onto him.
He explains that no one was supposed to get hurt. It was just a robbery gone wrong.
He said he was low on some cash, so he came up with this plan to rob Delisha.
He said Delisha was a recent friend of his, and he had also found out that she was living with her godmother, who had a lot of nice things in the house.
But Bovie says that once Shakura found out about the robbery, she wanted to up the stakes.
He said she wanted new furniture because she was planning to move soon. So she rented a U-Haul and it became a bigger thing.
Bovee tells detectives on the night of July 3rd, the couple, along with their friend, 42-year-old Andrew Jackson, went over to Delicia's house. Delicia's friend Ariana left soon after their arrival, and the four started hanging out.
They were drinking, they were having fun. Delicia had no idea what was about to happen.
Bovee says after hours of partying, Delicia got tired and went to bed. She offered for the trio to crash for the night.
And then when Delicia went to bed, that's when everything changed.
Bovee claims they went into Delicia's bedroom and Andrew tried to subdue her with a syringe to knock her unconscious. But the commotion ended up jolting Delicia awake.
Bovee said they couldn't get a clear spot for the syringe, so Andrew hit Delicia in the head.
He said Andrew beat her, he strangled her, he stabbed her, and all the while, Shakora was the one handing him the weapons.
Bovee says after the struggle, the three stole the items and Delicia's body was loaded into the U-Haul.
But he says he and Andrew loaded the body in the truck, and that's how he got Delicia's blood all over him.
According to Bovee, Shakora drove the three of them to Andrew's house to drop him off. Then, Shakora and Bovee drove across state lines to dispose of the body.
He says they drove to Kansas to dump the body at a location that Shakora knew about.
It's quite a story. One that puts a convenient amount of blame on his friend and girlfriend.
So at this point, they're not sure what parts of his story they can believe.
After concluding their interview with Bovee, detectives put out an APB for Andrew Jackson. They also reach out to their counterparts in Kansas.
We notified the Kansas Police Department that, hey, there could be a dead body in this area.
As Kansas police search for Delicia's body, Missouri detectives approach Shakora a second time.
The first time she denied having any knowledge of the incident and said that her and her boyfriend were completely innocent.
Detectives confront Shakora with the charges Bovee alleges against her.
They tell her Bovee said it was all her idea to up the scale of the robbery, rent the U-Haul, and that she gave Andrew all the weapons.
Shakora's demeanor completely changes.
It's clear Shakora is shocked by what she's hearing. She just can't believe that Bovee would actually do this to her.
He didn't take responsibility. He told the police that it was me and Andrew's idea, none of his idea. So that's when I chose not to protect him anymore.
Shakora says detectives have it all wrong. With a heavy heart, she begins to tell an unsettling story that centers around a ruthless plot for vengeance.
Bovee utilized both of them in this masterful plan to seek revenge.
This wasn't a robbery gone wrong. Bovee wanted Delicia dead.
Missouri police have two suspects in custody for the home robbery and suspected murder of 29-year-old Delicia Williams, Bovee Combs and Shakora Clanton. They are still on the hunt for a third suspect, Andrew Jackson.
Bovee gives really little details about his responsibility in this situation. He really puts the blame on Andrew and Shakora.
Feeling betrayed, Shakora is now giving detectives her account. She confirms it was Bovee's idea for the robbery, but it was never meant to be just a robbery. It was meant to be murder.
Shakora Clanton, she began to unravel this story to us about what happened that night.
Shakora explains 2 weeks earlier, Bovee began calculating a plan of revenge.
Bovee's sister was recently killed in New York, and he found out the names of the killers.
Shakora says Bovee believed Delicia was related to his sister's killers, since they shared a last name.
Williams is a pretty common name, and I mean, that's an awful big stretch to take, that just because you share the same last name that you're somehow involved.
Shakora says Bovey had been angry and hurt over his sister's sudden murder, and he wanted to avenge her death.
The only thing that he told me about Delisha was that she had something to do with it.
Shakora told us that Bovey developed this plan that they were going to rent a U-Haul and that they were going to take all of the victim's things and that they were going to kill her.
I was thinking that this guy cannot be serious. I was just like, okay, you don't have to do all that just to get vengeance back, you know.
But on the morning of June 3rd, Shakora realized Bovey was more serious than she thought when he called her and told her to rent a U-Haul.
I was hoping that maybe he is just going to rob her and just leave it at that and not kill her. Even though it wasn't right, I felt like robbery is better than murder.
Shakora says she did as instructed. She rented the U-Haul, and on the night of June 3rd, she drove Bovey and their friend Andrew over to Delisha's home. She tells detectives Bovey was feigning interest in Delisha to get them in the door.
He is to pretend that he is romantically interested in Delisha to set the stage. Shakora is supposed to come with him and pretend that she is his sister and drive this U-Haul.
Introducing me to her as like his sister.
Bovey is emotionally manipulative enough to have a sense of control and can predict both women's behavior.
Shakora may not be comfortable, but what is she gonna say? Maybe this is too far, but I love him. And so she's kind of divided.
Shakora confirms Bovey's account that after the group hung out for a few hours and Delisha went to bed, Andrew tried to subdue her with the syringe. But Shakora says once Delisha started trying to fight back, Bovey jumped in to help.
It was very terrifying, especially the things that they were doing to her. And I just feel that I could have been the one to save her, and I didn't.
Shakora tells detectives at that point she felt there was no stopping Bovey. He was determined to kill Delisha.
As Bovey sees that Delisha is not going down, he grabs a knife and he starts to stab her.
Shakora says she was frozen watching the horrific scene.
I was feeling like I was in something that I couldn't get myself out of. I was hoping she was still alive after all the things that she was enduring because she showed so much strength and she fought so hard for her life.
Shakora claims Bovey instructed her to head back to the truck.
After they thought that they had killed her, they started loading her belongings up into the U-Haul.
Shakora tells detectives after that, the men loaded Delisha's body into the truck. According to Shakora, the trio then drove to Andrew's home.
Shakora's thought process at this time is most likely, I have a very passive role. I'm just supposed to drive the truck.
Shakora says Andrew then got out of the truck and headed to the back.
They drive Andrew Jackson home. He gets out, lifts up the gate on the back of the U-Haul, casually takes out a TV like there's not a body in the back of this truck.
Shakora says after Andrew went inside and they were preparing to drive off, something shocking happened.
I heard a scream, and I was just like, what was that?
Delisha Williams wasn't dead. She's still alive in the back of the truck.
June 4th, 2001. Kansas City detectives are interrogating Shakora Clanton about the disappearance and apparent homicide of 29-year-old Delisha Williams.
Shakura admitted that her boyfriend Bovey and his friend Andrew attacked Delisha as a part of a revenge plot.
Bovey thought that Delicia's family had something to do with the death of his sister.
Shakura claims she helped Bovey plan the attack, but she didn't realize it would actually result in murder.
When it all started going down, Shakura said she was in total shock.
Shakura says after they dropped Andrew off, that's when something truly unbelievable happened.
I heard a scream, and I was just like, what was that? And Bovey looked at me like, I don't know what you're talking about. You're hearing stuff. I was just like, no, I heard somebody scream.
Shakura claims it was clear Delisha was still alive in the back of the truck.
I said, well, we're taking her to the hospital. This is getting way out of control. We're taking her out to the hospital. He was like, no, we're not. We're not. We need to find somewhere where we can dump her body.
Shakura tells detectives she pleaded with Bovey to do the right thing.
I said, no, this is way out of my control. This is getting too far. We need to start doing the right thing because what we're doing is not right. She's alive. He was like, nope, you need to find somewhere to dump the body because by the time we get there, she should be dead.
At that point, Shakura made a choice. She did as instructed and drove across state lines to a secluded area.
This desire to be loved led Shakura to willfully choose Bovey over her own moral compass.
Shakura says the night only got worse from there.
As soon as I found this place, he opened the back of the truck and she just jumped out. Delisha and Bovey was fighting. At that time, I was just standing there watching.
Shakura claims Bovey subdued Delisha by hitting her with a rock, but she was still alive.
So finally, he got her to where she was down on the ground, and he got in the truck and just went over her.
Shakura admits they then left Delisha's body there and drove back to her home. And within an hour, the police had arrived.
I thought to myself, how can you do this to another human being? I mean, your human side and your emotional side has to take over, and just think about what this woman went through.
After wrapping up their interview with Shakura, Missouri police get word from their colleagues across state lines in Kansas.
Kansas City, Kansas police show up to this wooded area and they find Delisha's body.
The medical examiner is able to confirm the body found was that of Delisha Williams.
The family was devastated. Her godmother probably knew deep down inside that she was gone, but to have all of that hope taken away, that really hurt her.
Forensics is also able to confirm the blood found in the U-Haul was a match to the victim. On June 6th, Shakura Clanton and Bovey Combs are both charged with first-degree murder, as well as first-degree assault, armed criminal action, and first-degree robbery. A week later, the couple's accomplice is also apprehended.
After a few days, we finally caught up to Andrew Jackson.
But just when detectives think they know what happened, their interview with Andrew will reveal alarming information that suggests Shakura may have been more complicit in Delisha's murder than she let on.
She thought, I'm going to do whatever I have to do to keep that relationship, even if it goes into the path of dysfunction or deceit or a plan of murder.
Shakura was just someone that he used as a pawn from the beginning, that he just kind of built up trust.
Everyone who knows her couldn't believe it. They could not believe that she would go this far just to keep her man happy.
Kansas City, Missouri. Investigators have just brought their third suspect, Andrew Jackson, into custody for the brutal murder of 29-year-old Delisha Williams.
The other two suspects, Shakora Clanton and Bovie Combs, are already in custody.
In Bovie's statement, he blamed much of the violence on Andrew.
Bovie claimed that while he just wanted to rob Delisha, Andrew was actually the one who led the attack, while Shakora handed him the weapons.
But Shakora's statement puts Bovie in a more active role, and her as a reluctant bystander.
Shakora's statement basically flips everything Bovie said on its head. She claims she's just standing by, watching in total shock while Andrew and Bovie attack Delisha, and Bovie is taking the lead using different weapons.
On June 12, 2001, Andrew Jackson gives a full statement. He admits that on the night of the murder, he was part of the plan.
He confirmed Bovie wanted Delisha dead. He wanted revenge for his sister.
Andrew said initially he was just trying to help subdue Delisha.
But amidst the struggle, Andrew realized they were making a mistake.
Bovie said something about, "This is for my sister," and Delisha was completely confused.
Delisha really didn't seem to have any idea of what was going on and why this was happening to her.
While they're attacking her, Andrew starts to feel like they're taking out Bovie's rage on an innocent woman.
We were never able to confirm that the victim was somehow related to the people who killed his sister.
This was a mistaken identity gone horribly wrong.
Andrew says, at that point, he stopped participating in the violence and pleaded with Bovie to take Delisha to the hospital.
He wanted to just take responsibility for what they had already done and stop before they had gone too far and she died.
Bovie would not listen because at this point he was seeing red.
Andrew says he backed off. But to his surprise, it was then Shakora who suggested Bovie keep stabbing Delisha.
He does what she suggested and continues to stab her.
Andrew says once the victim was unconscious, Bovie and Shakora were eager to carry on with the robbery.
He said Shakora was actually the one pointing out which items they should take.
Andrew admits he helped Bovie load Delisha's body into the truck along with the stolen items.
After that, he demanded to go home. He doesn't want anything else to do with this.
After speaking with Andrew, police charge him with conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. With Andrew's statement in tow, detectives feel confident that Bovie was the mastermind. But Shakora was much more than just an innocent bystander.
Shakora is complicit in this crime.
She did not have to rent that U-Haul. She could have stopped it at any time, but she didn't.
Shakora denies Andrew's accusations that she actively assisted Bovie in the murder. In April of 2002, though Shakora continues to refute the claims of her accomplices, she does decide to take responsibility for her role in what happened to Delisha.
I wanted to do the right thing. I felt like it was my responsibility.
Shakora has pled guilty to the charges against her, which really tells us that she is at the point of remorse and accountability.
In hopes of a reduced sentence, Shakora testifies against her ex-boyfriend.
I was very proud of Shakora for testifying against Bovie Combs. He's a murderer. I mean, let's call it what it is.
In the end, the jury finds Bovie Combs guilty of first-degree murder and kidnapping. Bovie is served with a stiff sentence.
He received a life sentence, which he was given a hard 50. So he has to serve 50 years before he's even eligible for parole.
Andrew Jackson is also found guilty at trial and is handed a 15-year sentence.
The coroner in Wyandotte County determined that she was killed in Kansas City, Kansas as a result of being ran over by a U-Haul truck. So Andrew Jackson wasn't in Kansas City, Kansas when Delisha Williams was killed.
Shakora Clanton is ultimately convicted on charges of first-degree murder.
She received a life sentence, but she's eligible for parole after 20 years.
Life behind bars has given Shakora time to reflect on her actions.
Delisha was an innocent person, and this was clearly a case of mistaken identity. And for what she and her family went through, it's just terrible. She really didn't deserve to die.
Shakora hopes that one day she can earn the forgiveness of Delisha's family.
I'm sorry, and I never meant for this to happen. I didn't think that it was going to happen, and I just hope that they find it in their hearts to forgive me.
She's very remorseful about her part and her role.
Shakora's goal in sharing her story is that it can serve as a cautionary tale to young women out there.
I was really in like a place in my life where I was looking for love in the wrong places, and he showed me some attention, and I just thrived on that.
I honestly believe that Bovie Combs manipulated her in such a way that he could get her to do whatever he wanted her to do.
I've covered a lot of stories, covered a lot of crime, but nothing like this where a young woman was basically willing to throw it all away and actually participate in a murder to please her boyfriend. It's just really sad.
If I could create a different version of myself, I wouldn't be so naive and gullible. My life would have been better. I wouldn't have ended up here.
When the one you love is leading the way, any small journey together can feel like an adventure. But when the path gets dark, can you find your way out? Or will you let him lead you astray until it's too late?